We're more than just podcasts and a radio station at Boise State Public Radio. We're a trusted resource and a lifeline for communities across Idaho. It's up to all of us to safeguard public media's future. You can learn more at protectmypublicmedia.org. Together, we can ensure that Boise State Public Radio remains a trusted resource for you and your neighbors for generations to come.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Samantha Wright, filling in for Gemma Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. We sometimes hear in the news of a large financial gift left to an organization after someone dies, like the $200 million gift that Joan Kroc gave to NPR back in 2003. You don't have to be a multimillionaire to leave a bequest to a charity or even to family members, and it happens a lot more often than you might expect. But pre-planning is important, and a new class at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute in Boise is hoping to help folks explore these options. And here to tell us more are Bart Hendricks. He's the Senior Director of Charitable Gift Planning with the Boise State University Foundation, Shyla Buckley, the founder of Shyla Buckley Law, and Rachel Murphy, Principal Attorney with Shyla Buckley Law. I want to welcome everybody to the show. How you doing?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bart, talk a little bit about setting up a gift to your favorite charity. How complicated is it to do something like this?
Well, it's not as complicated as you think. The term is in the name itself, the plan, right? And putting a plan together. Now, it takes time, but it's not difficult, especially if you have some of the professionals in your circle involved. I recommend that, like attorneys like Shyla and Rachel, or maybe your CPA, or maybe a financial advisor. But basically, it is an easy thing to do. It's just there's a right way to do it.
And Shyla, your law firm specializes in estate planning. Why was it important to get into this kind of law?
Estate planning is a great area of law because it allows you to work with families to make sure that everything is organized and in order so that when they pass, things go as smoothly as possible. So that rather than passing down problems, we help them organize their estate in a way that addresses any circumstances that are unique to those families to make sure things go as smoothly as possible. So it's a really rewarding area because we get to work one-on-one with wonderful individuals in the Treasure Valley and beyond, and just helping them get things set up in a way that gives them peace of mind.
And Rachel, what is it about estate planning that drew you to work in this kind of law?
Well, it's not many areas of law where you get a hug from your clients at the end of your time together. Like Shyla said, it's extremely personally rewarding to help individual people. A lot of what we do, yes, is law-based, but there's also a lot of counseling aspect to it and just being there for people to talk about a subject that can be very challenging. But it's extremely rewarding to be able to walk people through what might be daunting and leave them feeling better than they were before they came to see us.
So let's dig a little bit into what you're going to talk about in class, leaving a gift for your favorite charity. We hear a lot about, cash. Are there other things I could give? Could I give a car? Could I give a house? Could I give, I understand you can give part of your 401k if you're still alive.
Yeah, that's one of those great ways that you can kind of do two birds with one stone, where you get a really tax-advantaged gift and you're making a gift to charity. So with a typical retirement account, whether it's a 401k or an IRA, those accounts are funded with pre-tax dollars, meaning there's been no income taxes levied against those funds. What that means is when you take distributions from those accounts, you pay income taxes on the amounts that you withdraw, or alternatively, if you leave those to your beneficiaries, they owe income taxes when they withdraw funds from those accounts. In contrast, if you name a charity as a direct beneficiary of one of those accounts, they get dollar for dollar. So what that means is that if you have a retirement account worth $100,000 and you leave it to your nephew, that the actual amount that your nephew is going to inherit is going to be about 70,000 or so, depending on his tax bracket. Whereas if you leave that to a charity, that charity gets a full $100,000. But what's interesting is you can also make those distributions from your tax deferred retirement accounts during lifetime. When you get to be a certain age, you're required to take what's called a required mandatory distribution from your retirement accounts. And when that money comes out, you get taxed on it. However, there's a mechanism where you can direct the financial institution holding that account to make that distribution to a charity. And at that point, the money goes to the charity. They get dollar for dollar. You can direct up to 108,000 a year, and it's called a qualified charitable distribution, and that can go directly to charity. So you're not paying income tax on it, but you're also maximizing the amount that you give to charities.
Bart, can we look a little bit about how charities use these kind of donations? You see these coming into the University Foundation. How do you use those? And are there restrictions on how you can use them?
Well, we use them. Hopefully, we have a relationship with the donor, or the donor lets us know that this gift is coming. And they can point it to the direction that they would like to put it, whether it's a scholarship, whether it's to fund a program on campus, whether it's to fund sports on campus. They can direct exactly where they want to go. So we hardly ever get one, and certainly during their lifetime, where it's just put it wherever. We usually have a relationship with the donor in that case, and they are the ones that are guiding it to where they want it to go.
Well, I was going to ask that. How important is it to work with the charity ahead of time? I would think that's very important, both for the giver and the givee.
Absolutely. It's extremely important. Probably one of the highlights of this conversation in our class is to make sure that you're in communication with the nonprofit or charity that you're working with, because for the most part, yes, they'll take cash, but oftentimes there is certain gifts that are that may be a little strange or not cash. They might be real property, but it's important that the nonprofit understands the gift and where it wants to go. So when that time does come, the nonprofit is prepared and has the documentation in place to know exactly what to do with it when that time comes.
Rachel, you mentioned how rewarding it is to be doing this kind of work. You also helped to spearhead your firm's pro bono clinic. Tell us just a little bit about it and how it helps folks out.
Yeah, thank you. We work with the Idaho Volunteer Lawyers Program, which is run by the Idaho State Bar. And we offer about a quarterly clinic for those folks who are lower income to receive a will and powers of attorney for finance and for health care. Those powers of attorney are really useful if someone were to get into an accident, say, and to be incapacitated. You want to make sure that you've named a trusted person who could pay your bills, who could communicate with healthcare providers if you're not able to. And a lot of times people may hear the words estate planning and think, well, I don't have an estate, so I must not need estate planning. But it's very important for everybody to have some documents in place, those powers of attorney. And also, if you have minor children under the age of 18, you want to have a will that says who you would like to take care of them if something were to happen to you. And so we're really thrilled to be able to work with Idaho Volunteer Lawyers Program to provide those important documents to those people who might not otherwise be able to afford to pay an attorney for them.
Bart, I know that you see gifts coming in, bequests that come in to the University Foundation. How important is this kind of giving to places like Boise State? How important is this to what happens every day at the university?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's extremely important because I always kind of joke around that I don't fundraise for today. I'm fundraising for 20 years from now. And most likely the gifts that I'm fundraising for now, I'm probably not going to be around at Boise State to see them be realized. So in a sense, these type of gifts ensure the future success of a place like Boise State or any nonprofit. It helps them plan for the future and ensure the success. And oftentimes, I would say 98% of the time, the gifts that come in this manner are much bigger than any gift that donor has done prior to. And because we look at the assets, right? That's what we're looking at. We're not looking at the money coming from the checking account. We're looking at the value of your assets that you can utilize to make a gift. And it's extremely important and make huge impacts down the road.
And Shyla, I've got about a minute left. How important is it to get an estate plan and to customize it to each person and to their situation?
Yeah, I mean, we always say, estate planning is essential for everyone because whether it's trying to have the most tax efficient estate plan or whether it's making sure that you're addressing interfamily dynamics, a lot of what we see are answering questions for people about how to, divide money within their kids or how to leave money for minor kids or different ways to ensure that there's the least amount of conflict when they pass. And so it's very critical. And then as Rachel mentioned, having those powers of attorney in place is really important so that if something unexpected happens, you've picked the person who can stand in your shoes and keep the trains running. If you have children, you want to name guardians. You also want to make sure if you have children, whether they're your own minor children or you're leaving money to grandchildren, that you do so in trust so that those children don't end up, having access to all of that money at age 21, at which point, the average 21-year-old may not be well equipped to make good decisions with that money.
Well, I want to thank the three of you. I think this is a great idea. We've been speaking with Bart Hendricks. He's the Senior Director of Charitable Gift Planning at Boise State University Foundation. Shyla Buckley, the founder of Shyla Buckley Law, and Rachel Murphy, Principal Attorney with Shyla Buckley Law. They're teaching a class on March 12th at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute in Boise called Charitable Giving Strategies, Do's and Don'ts of Leaving Money to Your Favorite Causes. We'll put a link on our website. Thanks for coming on the show. And we should note, Shyla Buckley Law is an underwriter of Boise State Public Radio.
You've been listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. I'm Gemma Gaudet.